We've got so many taste differences here. You know, sometimes you had a satisfying meal. Well, we're going to top our show off with dessert today.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've got some interesting, you've got coconut, you've got chocolate, you've got peanut butter going here.
Yes, and it's like you said, different flavors, but again, just something different that you can do. A lot of people know the macaroon cookies, and you can obviously coat them with chocolate or any other, you know, type of topping that you would want to. So this is a little bit different twist on that. We have a big cookie today.
That's right, and in this case, the macaroon is the crust.
It is the crust, yep. So that's what we're going to do for the pie. Now over there we've started, we're kind of doing it backwards than the recipe today, just for the sake of TV, but we already have our whipping cream already warming here, and then we're going to add in our chocolate and our peanut butter. It's about 1.5 cups of chocolate chips and then about 1/2 cup of peanut butter.
Do I want to put that in now?
You can go ahead and stir that in now, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have that melted down.
And we want this on low heat, right? Because we don't want the cream to curdle.
Absolutely, and so it's basically the tip for the day. We have 2 of them. This is one of the tips. One of them is a lot of times we are trying to melt down chocolate or other types of chips, and it says a double boiler for it, or people put it in the microwave. Well, if you're using heavy whipping cream or you're using sweetened condensed milk, instead you can actually heat the liquid and pour the chips in it, and then that way it will melt right on down.
It does, and it melts before you know it. You think it's not melted, and then you stir it, and
it's melting. So again, the crust that we're going to start with, we have a little bit of flour, about 2/3 cup of flour, and just a pinch of salt that we have inside there,
and then our mound
of coconut. We are adding in a mound of coconut. This is, believe it or not, 5 cups of coconut that we are adding in here.
So is that like one package?
It's about 1 package, and you can add a little bit more or less depending on how you want it. The flour is just to help coat it. That's all that the flour is doing for that on there. And again, just a little bit of salt that you're gonna have. And again, it's just, all you're doing with this is just mixing the flour in with the coconut. You can do this by hand. I did it yesterday by hand. You don't have to use the mixer. To give it a little bit of flavor, we have a little bit of almond and a little bit of vanilla extract in there. And then we are going to use 1 cup of sweetened condensed milk. That's where it's going to get our mixture together for it.
It's working.
It is working. You're absolutely right. And if you don't mind, hand me that fork that's over there. We can get the rest of this out.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to hand you the spatula, but I think I need that. We don't want to cross-contaminate.
We'll keep that over there with the chocolate.
And the chocolate and the peanut butter are starting to melt.
Absolutely. And so those are going to, like I said, over there, that's going to melt down. And then we have the coconut over here that has their sweetened condensed milk in it. Now this is tip number 2 for today. So a lot of times when we have sticky things that we are baking with, they get stuck to our glove or whatever else that we're using. So if you just take, you can do 1 or 2 things. You can take just the spray that you have, oil, and you can spray your gloves or your hand, or you can just use a little bit of oil, whichever one. And if you do that, then it's not going to stick. It's going to actually just fall right off.
Helps us not make a mess.
It helps us not make a mess. So we can use the gloves, and if not, if you don't want to use the gloves and you want to just use your hands, like most of the time I'm using, then you can just put a little bit of oil.
And baking is such a tactile thing anyway. It's good to get your hands in it.
It is, and that's why it's really good with kids, because, you know, what kid doesn't like making a little bit of a mess? And if they can do it in the kitchen and have fun with it, especially with you. But then, again, that's exactly how it comes up, the coconut and the sweetened condensed milk. And we're just going to press this. Now, I like to use a tart pan, or if you have a springform pan, just because
which is good because the bottom comes off.
Absolutely, you can pour it right out.
The chocolate just bloomed. I could smell it.
There you go.
It just came out of nowhere. I'm like,
and it's amazing how, like you said, it seems like it is not melting at all, and then as soon as you start stirring it, then it melts it. And with this, what I like to do is just pull it up a little bit on the edges, and that's going to give you an edge to where we're going to put our chocolate in. And then that's it. And again, nothing on the gloves. It's all stayed right there inside where it's supposed to be.
Now this might be a weird question. Is this a no-bake pie cake, or are we going to put this in the oven at some point?
So we are. We're going to actually put this in the oven. So this part is done here. Put it in the oven about 325. Depending on the temperature that you have, for about 10 to 15 minutes. The magic oven. And again, until it's golden, that we're going to do. Just like the macaroons that you do for it. And that's what's so lovely about springform. It is off. And then you have the chocolate there.
It's all ready to go.
It's all ready to go.
Pass it to the master.
And then We're just going to pour it right in the middle. And again, if you do that edge that we showed you,
keeps it from pouring out.
It keeps it from pouring out. And then at this point, you can do one or two things, depending on the temperature of your house. You can leave it out. Again, we want to make sure that this cools all the way when it comes out the oven. So don't pour the chocolate
because then the chocolate won't set.
It won't set. But this chocolate will sit actually just sitting right out on your counter. If not, if you have somewhere that you're going to be going in a little while, then you can put it in the refrigerator for 10, 15 minutes, and it will certainly sit right up. And then you have your finished product that's right there.
And it's sliced beautifully.
Yeah.
Don't you just kind of hesitate when you take that first slice?
Yep, and again, this chocolate, you know, it's oozing right now, but as soon as it sets, it gets that really nice firm on there, and you have the coconut at the bottom, the chocolate on top, and you can change it up. We talked about earlier, you can change it up and put a different toffee.
Toffee would be good on there instead of the
Absolutely.
peanut butter chips. I would do toffee chips. And that's the key. Once you get the basic done, you can decorate it and enhance it any way you want. But that's a very, very rich pie.
Yes, it is.
So small servings go a long way.
It goes a very long way. This one easily, I mean, we have the slice there, and that way, just because of the density of it, you can actually slice it thinner than that. You can put coconut on top of that. You can melt down peanut butter and drizzle it on top of it instead of putting the peanut butter inside. So whichever way that you'd like to do it.
Well, it's beautiful, and it was absolutely simple.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's
Leanne.
simple. That's what I like.
We love simple. And you'll find this recipe online by early this afternoon at WTVR.com/VTM.